Hi everyone, it's me again. I know it's definitely been a hot minute since I've made anything of worth on here, but I have spent November, December, January, February, March, April, 6 months rereading Harry Potter for the second time. The first time I read it, I was in high school, and I became part of the fandom after the first 3 movies came out. I borrowed them from a friend and I fell in love. And at that point, the first 5 books were out. So I read those. And so I was around for the 4th to 8th movie, seeing it in theaters, and then the last 2 books, buying them at midnight. But I didn't really read them properly. I read them, but I just kind of took what I wanted. I think it was an attention thing. I just couldn't keep at it. But yeah, so this is kind of the first time I have actually taken in all of the information that was laid out to me. And I've been reading Harry Potter fanfiction since I discovered Harry Potter, so I definitely have my own thoughts on how things should go. There were some characters I didn't like before I reread it again, and my views have changed. I like them now, or I understand them basically. So yeah, so this is just gonna be a video of me putting the characters in the houses that I believe they should be in. So let's turn this down so it's not like a blaring thing, but make sure I can still read it. Okay, so I am going in order of age, so oldest first and then to the youngest. I didn't choose every character, I just chose characters that I believed either were important or integral to the story, and or characters that I just really think need to be in different houses. So we start with Albus Dumbledore, and when I was going to reread this, I was mad at him. I was so angry, and I didn't care about him as a character. I just all that had happened with Harry and how he kind of just kept so many secrets, and just it didn't feel like he really cared. So Albus Dumbledore, Slytherin. I know he was in Ravenclaw, I think, and he is a very smart person, but I think his need to kind of keep things to himself, kind of do things that would benefit him in the long run, I guess. It seems very Slytherin, and I don't believe that Slytherins are evil. Inherently evil. There's a lot of them that are, but he definitely is a complex character. I would say he is the most complex character in all of Harry Potter, because you see what Harry sees. The last book, where Harry meets Dumbledore in King's Cross, or this white landscape type of thing, where Dumbledore is sobbing over what happened with his sister and how he knew that giving him power was a horrible thing, and that he knew that much about himself, that's why he didn't take on the Minister of Magic position. Whoa, that's a person. That is a 3-dimensional person. But I do believe he is more cunning than anyone. He perceived so much, and his guesses were usually correct. So yeah, I would put him in Slytherin. just either like Slytherin, or he could stay in Ravenclaw because that is a good pick for him. But yes, definitely Slytherin. All right. Next up, good old Thomas Riddle, stupid man, stupid wizard. Really thought that he was the smartest being to ever be. He didn't think anyone else figured out there was a room of requirement when a frickin' house elf, when Dobby is the one who told Harry about it. And you know that Tom Riddle thought little of house elves and shit. Like, you're stupid. Anyway, I would leave him in Slytherin because he is the heir, the last true heir of Slytherin, so it just kind of fits. And he just has this complex about him, and that there's just so much about Tom Riddle that just, this guy, this sociopath, just needed to stop. There's just so much about that man, that wizard, that I can't stand. He's very stupid. Anyway, next up is Rubeus Hagrid. I don't think we ever find out what house he's in. I don't really remember anything. We only really hear about his time at Hogwarts in the second book, and it's only really glossed over. But I would put him in Hufflepuff. He definitely is in tune to what is fair. But also I would put him in Gryffindor because he does act before he thinks. Yeah, so I think he was in Gryffindor. It just feels like he was, but I honestly don't think they told us, so. Minerva McGonagall, love her, amazing woman. I said that I would keep her in Gryffindor. I'm pretty sure she was in Gryffindor because that's the house that she oversees. So I would keep her there, either there or Ravenclaw, but I think she has more Gryffindor tendencies. So yes, I do believe that she is exactly where she needs to be. Next up is Severus Snape, and buckle down, kids. I am one of the fans who do not like him. Who does not like him. Something like that. I do believe that he would have stayed a Death Eater if Voldemort went after Neville and made him the chosen one. Because if the roles were reversed and Neville's parents were the ones who died, and Harry's parents were the ones who were tortured to insanity, Snape would be there at Lily's bedside, but then still go be a Death Eater. Like, if she hadn't have died, he wouldn't have. You cannot convince me otherwise. But all that being said, I put him in Ravenclaw and or Slytherin because he is a very smart man. But his Slytherin tendencies of this is what will serve me best, that's kind of too strong for me to ignore. So I'd probably go Slytherin, but then Ravenclaw. He is the only character that I hated when I restarted the books, and then still hated when I finished. Just because if he treated Harry with indifference, that would have been best. That would have made him completely fine in my book. But the fact that he treated him like shit, what kind of teacher is that? What kind of brave person does that? That's a coward. That's a shitty person. Anyway, clean the slate of Severus Snape. Next up is James Potter. And James Potter, I believe I kept him in Gryffindor. He's a very valiant guy. He's also kind of a show-off. He just kind of, that's just where he belongs. Yeah, nothing else to say. I'm kind of indifferent on James, because he was kind of a jackass, but we do only really see him as a teenager, and we only really get to see him, what is it, like 20? He dies at age 20, I think. So it's like, we don't really get to see him mature. I think if we got to see him as an adult, it would have made me like him instead of just be like, okay. Lily Evans, I put her in Ravenclaw because she is way too brilliant and smart to be in Gryffindor, I think. Not to say that Gryffindors aren't smart, but there was more to offer than what she got. But again, she's another one I'm kind of about. If we saw her mature more, I think I would consider her a very good maternal figure, but I do not, because she was only 20. She seemed like a good mom, though, and a good person, because she did know to kind of ditch Snape when he was getting ready to become a Death Eater. She went, "Are you kidding me? You're going to be part of, like, a Nazi group," basically. But yeah, so I do like her, but not as much as I probably would if she had gotten more life. Next up is Remus Lupin. I do believe he is a Ravenclaw at heart, but I do like that he was in Gryffindor. He does think with his heart. Yeah, he's brilliant. He's a brilliant man. And I think he may have been brilliant to try to prove that he is more than just a werewolf. I think the same with Lily too. It's almost like she was brilliant because she kind of had to prove that she belonged there, even though she was Muggle-born. But yeah, love Remus. Yeah, okay. Next is Sirius Black. I kept him in Gryffindor because he's a Gryffindor. I could have put him in Slytherin, but you know he didn't want to because of his family, so that was out. Nothing really to say about Sirius Black. I love him as a character. He is really cool. But I kind of get bored of Gryffindors, you know what I mean? We see them so much. Anyway, next is Peter Pettigrew. That snively, sneaky bitch belonged in Slytherin. He only cared about himself. He only hung out with those three boys because they were in the same year and in the same house. If he was in the same house as someone else, Snape, he probably would have followed him around like a puppy. Like, are you kidding me? Like, and they thought he is probably the most cowardice of all of the characters. Yes, I put him in Slytherin because, come on, bro. Next person up is Nymphadora Tonks. That bitch was a Gryffindor. You put her, J.K. Rowling, you put her in Hufflepuff when she's the most Gryffindor character in the entire book. She... irritating. I love that, like, a Hufflepuff has that kind of heart and that kind of soul, but no, that's not who we are. Hufflepuffs are not that. Alright, next is Bill Weasley. I picked him to stay in Gryffindor. Yeah, nothing much really to say. He is just a very valiant character. Not afraid of much. But yeah, next, Charlie Weasley, who we barely get to see in the books. I want him to be in Hufflepuff because he's so aloof. I think he's just someone who found out what he wanted to do and does it, and kind of just keeps to, kind of goes into the woodwork, if you will. But yeah, so he gets to be in Hufflepuff. Next is Percy Weasley. Oh my god, that boy is a Slytherin. He is the most ambitious character we meet, I'm sure. I think. Yeah, if there was no like weird prejudice or whatever the heck against Slytherins, that's where Percy would be, because he just does it. He wants it, he sees it, he likes it, he wants it, he has it. There we go. Alright, next, Cedric Diggory. Again, another Hufflepuff who probably belonged in Gryffindor. The only thing I can say about him that proves that he should be in Hufflepuff is his fairness, his need to win, not by default, not on like random circumstances. He wants to earn it. It's a very Hufflepuff thing, I believe. But yeah, so I think he's like a Gryffindor with like a Hufflepuff moon, if you know what that means. Next up is Fred Weasley, and I am going to separate the twins. Hi, baby. Fred Weasley, I put in Slytherin. He is a very strategic guy. I do want him to be in Ravenclaw because he's so brilliant, but I think Slytherin would be a better place for him. George Weasley, however, would be in just in Ravenclaw. He is also very brilliant. I think like Fred is the head, like the talking bit, and then George is the brain. So if they had to stay together, I would put them in Ravenclaw, because they were so smart, way more smart than people gave them credit for. They created things out of nothing. Next up, our dear old Harold Potter. I believe I kept him in Gryffindor, but also he could have been in Slytherin. Again, if there wasn't some sort of weird prejudice against it, he definitely would have done well in Slytherin. He desperately wanted to prove himself because he had all of this like baggage on him already from a young age. But yeah, so he would have done well in both. I probably would have kept him in Gryffindor because he definitely did act before he thought. But yeah. Ron Weasley, I put him in Gryffindor and Slytherin as well. He was a very strategic person, but he also did act before he thought. So I think if they had met on the train before, Ron would just want to go wherever Harry went. So if Harry went to Gryffindor, he'd want to go there, and if Harry went to Slytherin, he'd want to go there. Next up is Hermione Granger. That girl belonged in Ravenclaw, up and down. If there was no war, if there was no Voldemort, that's where she would have been. She would have made her own friends, different friends. She's too brilliant. She's too brilliant to just be in the I don't know, in Gryffindor. Either there or Slytherin. She would have done well in both of those. Neville Longbottom is next. This boy was a Hufflepuff through and through, and if J.K. Rowling didn't need him to do something, heroic, that's where he would have been, because poor boy needed a break. He was in the same year and house as frickin' Ron and Harry and Hermione, and this boy, he did what needed to be done. He did Dumbledore's army, he did all that stuff, and he was good at it, and he was brave, and he kind of grew into the Gryffindor archetype. But I do believe that he was a Hufflepuff. This boy just loved hanging around plants, and if there was no war, he would not have been. He just wouldn't have, because he had no need to. Next up, in the final person in their year, Draco Malfoy. He would have been in Ravenclaw. He was so smart and also like theatrical and dramatic, and I'm pretty sure he was only put in Slytherin because if he didn't, his parents would have been mad, because I believe they were both in Slytherin. But yeah, but if there was no weird like, oh, you need to follow your family's footsteps, he would have been in Ravenclaw, hands down. That boy's too brilliant for Slytherin. Next is Luna Lovegood. She was definitely a Hufflepuff in a Ravenclaw's body. But also she belongs in Ravenclaw because she's just so smart in a different way. She's not like textbook smart, she's just smart. And she thinks of things differently, which is such a good thing. But yeah, so yeah, I put her in Hufflepuff because I think that she kind of needed to chill out and just kind of be and not have any kind of like thing looming over her. So like if she was in Gryffindor, I'd be like, oh, are you brave? Be like, oh, you're in Slytherin. Oh, you're evil, right? And then like Ravenclaw, oh, you're supposed to be smart. Why aren't you smart? Like, no, she doesn't need all of that. She needs a nice comfy room in Hufflepuff where she can just be with her Nargles or whatever the heck and just live. And lastly on my list of characters is Ginny Weasley. I did keep her in Gryffindor. I kept her there, but also I think she would have done well in Slytherin. She was very ambitious and just like greater than she was given credit for, you know what I mean? Like, she's the only girl in this family of boys, and she excels. She goes past them. Like, she's a better Quidditch player than all of them combined, I'm sure. So that is my list of characters. This is gonna be like a some sort of like 3-parter, 4-parter type of deal. Yeah, that type of thing, because I have more to say about Harry Potter. So I hope you will stay with me for that. But yeah, okay. Thank you for watching. If you have any disagreements or your own headcanons for all the characters I have said and their houses, put them down below. I will see you in the next one. Bye.